Welcome to the review of a MOC I should have done a month ago. Oof, boy. Hey guys, it's ShadowGear665 here, doing a review of the big mammy jamma himself, Sovereign. So it's clear that you guys really love this guy, and I love him too. Obvious what he was inspired from, yes. Also, a lot of you are confused as to what this thing actually is. Like, who is this guy? Who is Sovereign? For the sake of story convenience, like, granted, I say that as if I have a big grandiose story. I don't. I really don't. Just kind of a baseline on what I really want to think of. But shortened to the point, this is the ultimate form of minion. It goes from minion to dominion to sovereign. And some of you have pieced together what that means. Some of you have... I'm also purposely doing it to see what people think. So I'm sorry. Maybe a little bit, but it's just general curiosity on my end. But this is the ultimate form. This is the final, inspired from Kamen Rider Gaim's Kachidoki arms, because for those of you who were around me when I started to watch Gaim and Kachidoki arms was revealed, I literally made a big wet puddle where I was sitting in my chair. So take that for what you will. But I think the idea of making a Samurai Shogun thing doesn't necessarily fit the idea or the looks of Minion and Sovereign. I mean, Minion and Dominion, but I don't know. I think it works. I think it's a beautiful thing. So that's Sovereign. Bye. I'm kind of scared to do this review. Not gonna lie to you. Frankly, because Sovereign from the waist down is not the most stable guy in the world. And there are two particular pieces in each leg that I'm very afraid of falling off when I do this review. But for the most part, let's just get started. This might be a long one, so bear with me. So, I'm going to take these flags out of his hands. I just took them off my shelf now. This is the pose he was in. While I'm on the topic of it, these flags, they're weapons, yes. Probably not the most practical things in the world, but these are some extra weapons that he has. The kanji here is all inked. This is like just Scotch tape over Lego bits. I know I'm a terrible purist, because I'm not. But that kanji spells out Sovereign, so literally his name is on the flags. Maybe a little corny, but I think it's kind of cool. So that's it for the flags. I'll put those back on later once I get back up to the top of his body. Christ, where do I want to start with this? I guess the best thing to do and show off something that has not been shown yet is what is under this skirt. So the connection for that is simply just a ball joint. So that is the inside design of the skirt. Let's get a little bit more of a focus in on that. It barely even focused. But yeah, that's the inside design of the skirt. There are the swords, which again I'll talk about later. And I'll just pull the other one off here too. But it's just a mirrored thing of that. And then these two little bits. Sorry, I just bumped the microphone. I'm going to just take these guys off. I'll get some extra bits to the skirt. And so here's what Sovereign looks like without his skirt. I don't remember who said it. I think it was a comment from the video on the Three Virtues podcast channel, in which a dude, Mesodak, reviewed this guy. Again, thank you for that. That guy, that helped me a lot. But someone said, "Oh man, he looks super proportional." Man, if you look at him like this, that's a big burly man with really skinny legs. But yeah, that's what he looks like. Those are just straight up model torsos. With some stuff added onto them. A lot of detail added for something that really can't be seen from under the skirt all too well, but I filled it in. I spent a lot of time on Sovereign. I spent a good, I guess, an overall 6 months working on him, from concept to general design and skeleton. He was multicolored for a little bit. I didn't know what to do with him for a while. And then I just had him sitting around for a month after he was finished, because I didn't know whether I should post him or not, and decided, fuck it, let's post him. So, okay, let's start with the articulation. Well, actually, no, probably should go more into the feet. The foot design in general is, well, they're hockey bodies. They're hockey bodies with little Technic tires on the bottoms of the feet. An idea I had for an old Titan-sized mock of mine, Titan, in which I put tires on the heels of his feet because his legs wouldn't splay out while he was on the shelf. And that's worked. That's been a pretty solid idea. And having the weight of Sovereign, because he's a pretty hefty guy, probably maybe say like half a pound, maybe even a pound. I don't have a scale to really measure that. But yeah, using hockey bodies for the feet, kind of that samurai type of like two-toed, like splayed out foot to try and give off that look. Some bits in here I didn't finish with the feet, but I think look fine as they are. There are some straight up ball sockets right there, in which I was going to add more Roxy heads. I think in general this guy has a lot of Roxy heads. Between the 3 versions of this guy, there's a lot of Roxy heads slinging about. But yeah, that's the foot. Upper leg, kind of overzealous. I mean, that's gunmetal. You can't really see it under the skirt, so I didn't bother to change it to black. Also because I don't have any more in black. I only have 2 of them. I don't know where my other 2 are that I had before, but whatever. Also, 2 Ultimate Doom heads for knee pads. Okay, I'm showing off that I'm a piece whore, but man, I think that looks just nice. That looks so good in terms of having a knee design. And for a mock that you basically just see the leg down from here, it's a really nice looking leg. So the upper leg doesn't have to look that good in general. So now the scary part. Now for the articulation. So his ankles and his hips. Oh no, I'm getting a phone call. It wasn't even that important of a phone call. I feel really bad. But again, the ankles and the hips are designed very similarly to the way Witch Doctor's hips and ankles were designed. Because I thought, for a Lego set that is like not meant to be like groundbreaking in terms of a design, that design of having 2 ball joints here to have the leg splay out and 2 ball joints here to make the leg go back and forth, I think was a phenomenal fucking design that has one major flaw, but I think is a very stable design for having, Titan mocks that are literally more than a foot tall. But the one major flaw of that is that his leg can't, unless I design it, but it's a very flimsy design to try and come up with anyway. His leg cannot swivel, so he'll always have a very kind of stock, boring pose like this. So it'll make him look a lot less natural, which sucks. But it does make him stable. But in terms of the articulation, let's get this going. I'll lift him up here. His ankle can swivel back and forth like this. And that's nice. It can also have that much tilt. It's not a lot, but there's a decent amount there. Now the knee. Let's take a look at the knee and see how much I get out of that. And that was the piece that I knew I was afraid of. There's that much bend out of the knee. That's it. And it can move that little bit forward. So this piece I was talking about, oh god, now things I need to fix in the future. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of a clearer view on this little design here. So the way the armor is attached to this lower part of the leg might as well be with like gum and rubber bands, because I didn't like the Rachi heads are kind of like that one's fine. Like that is, if I replace a piece on that to connect it, it'll look perfectly okay. The way this is connected, however, is with that little hole and one of these little pegs, which gives it a cool look, but is not the sturdiest connection in the world. Like Sovereign's sturdy, but if I jostle him a decent amount, he's gonna have those bits fall off on his legs, which in time I will replace. But I don't know, whatever. But let's move back out here, and then the hips generally can move that much out from the main body, and the leg can move that much forward and that much back. So there's not, oh, there it goes again. There's not too much posability in the legs. And I've come to a conclusion in terms of because I made enough mocks this size. I made Leo, and I made Titan, and I guess to a larger extent Tempest. I've realized that making a mock this large, your main focus probably shouldn't be posability. I think in designing multiple different versions of Tempest and making Sovereign and some designs I have for something else in the future, Durability and like base skeleton, I think, matters the most. And I think that's one of the reasons why it took so long to make Sovereign. Because keep in mind, I have a slideshow of a MOC, again, I keep mentioning it, Tempest, which was a MOC that was maybe about 2 or 3 heads taller than Sovereign here. In fact, a lot taller than that. And the dude was a brick. You can kind of move his arms, and he kind of had a waist articulation, but for the most part, dude couldn't really move. Because I focused so heavily on making him sturdy and strong. And I guess for the most part, oh, there it goes again. For the most part, he was a statue. But I think if you focus so much on posability, you're going to create a MOC, no matter how much fucking armor you put on it or whatever, dude is going to be flimsy, and he's not going to be able to friggin' stand up. So you need to take some countermeasures in terms of, like, I think if you're making a dude this big, work on the skeleton first. Don't worry about armor, work on the skeleton, and make some really nice tight joint connections. And if you feel like it's too tight, make it tighter. Because for the most part, you're not going to be moving a guy like this size, like an action figure. He's going to be, for the most part, very stationary and look very cool just standing. So focus on that, if anything else. I'm going to put these bits back on him. In terms of the skirt articulation, it has the same mobility as the legs. So if I just kind of pull this, the blue one's actually a little bit looser than the red one. Oh no, I gotta reattach that somehow. But it can move in and out with the leg as according, because the legs don't move out as much as you just saw. So you can have it swivel back and forth, move out a little bit, and give the necessary give that the legs need. So if I want to have him kind of crouching, kind of an action pose, which is basically the only pose he can really do with the legs outside of standing stock still, yeah, you could do that. So the skirt design. It's going to be a really long video that I might cut into 2 parts, who the hell knows. But the skirt design, I thought about for a while in terms of like actually making the connections. Like having these giant wing bits and having this, and like having the hockey chest plates as like the hip guards. Like, I came up with all that on the fly. But I knew to make Sovereign skirts, I didn't want to make anything Technic, I wanted to use system. And I think this is the best MOC I've ever made in terms of combining system and Technic. It's a little jarring, like it looks kind of blocky if you look at it from the right angles. But for the most part, like I think it works. I think it blends perfectly well. Considering a majority of the MOC, in terms of blocking the colors, the black is the underbody and the white is the armor. So I wanted to get that across first and foremost. And I think it really friggin' worked. But like the designs here, like I know I wanted to use these little, like these swivel pieces, not the gray ones because people love using the gray bits of them. But, the underparts, the actual like tile piece. I think that makes for some really nice detail coming around to the side. Nothing too crazy going on there. And then there's the back, which again, nothing too crazy going on here either. Here are the swords. So in the future, I do intend on making a really cool, like, giant sword design that will compile of a combination of these 2 smaller swords, which frankly, in a couple of the pictures I have on Flickr and the slideshow I posted of this guy, look kind of ridiculous in his hands because they're really friggin' small, which makes the flags, much better looking, better weapons. But yeah, they just attach to his butt. Very simple sword design. You've seen this before because I've made that sword design for other people as well. So take that for what you will. So yeah, that's it for the hips. Well, not really hips, just the lower part of the. Oh, jeez, sorry, something else fell apart up here. But yeah. In terms of just like general girth, I think the lower part of the body it works. I think it looks really cool. Again, like I've decided that if I'm going to make a MOC this size, and this is kind of my advice to you too, unless you want to be friggin' crazy, if you're going to make a MOC this size, don't focus on the posability, but if you are going to, do it for the upper body. Like, make his shoulders really tight and loose, like give him the arm articulation and the head articulation, and I think you can compensate for that. To not really trick people into thinking it's really articulated, but like, if this part's going to suck, make this part really good. Or you can just make a straight up statue. I don't know, it's up to you. Man, let's move to the upper body where things get a little more fun. What that chair squeak, that totally means we're moving on to the upper body. And here we go! Boop, boop, boop. Now here's the chest. which is interesting. It's a very interesting chest. I think it looks very not feminine. So, I'm not going with a running theme of making myself MOC in any form look feminine, because that's certainly not the case. Not like that, there's anything wrong with that, just not the intention. But it does have a bit of a bosom. But I do like the idea of taking these two hockey torsos, chest plates, and just combining them. And just like making this nice like cross X-shaped thing, and using this Hero Factory armor piece here to kind of fill in that gap nearly perfectly. I think this is a nice, cool chest design. Originally designed for a different MOC of mine. Well, no, that's a lie. So, this torso design was originally designed for Dominion. I want to make Dominion bigger. Not as big as this, but a tiny bit bigger and a bit more filled in. I made the torso form, ended up not working out. I decided to go with the second version of Dominion, which I have posted and whatever. But then I turned the torso into a black, olive green, and dark red MOC called Alligatore, who I posted a work in progress picture of in Flickr. No one really enjoyed him, so I scrapped the idea, but I kept the torso in case I needed it, because I was not going to let that good of a design, fall apart. Sure enough, I used it for Sovereign, and I think it's blocky. It's blocky like parts of him, but all of him is kind of smooth. It's a bizarre contrast with the rest of his design, but I think it's awesome. A cool thing I like to do in terms of like showing off the inside of this thing, I don't know how well I can show this, but let's take a look. There are these little clips right here that if I swivel that out on that pin, do it on the other side too, I can very easily just pull this entire section off. Like this is the design of the chest plate. It's all one nice, not necessarily solid, but like it's all one piece. And then you can see how Sovereign's torso is made, which it isn't super complex, but I do think that moving my light around a little bit, you guys can get a better look. It's a dense, really thick Technic build, and I think I always flirted with the idea of like making a little pilot inside of him, which would make no sense story wise, but it's like a cool little aside thing. And just very easily slide this chest piece back on, and then clip that back onto the axle. And then that's it. Nice back solid chest. So there is that. Good old times. Good old times. While I'm also here, I'm going to move on to the back, where you have this Baraki head from one of the play sets that came out around 2007, 2008? No, 2007 or 6. I really don't remember the Mari. Even though the Mari's cool, I forget the year, whatever. Not the same color white as everything else, but then again, not a lot of people, including myself, are going to be looking at the back, so it doesn't necessarily matter. There are those little pinholes there to reattach the flags, so I'm going to do that right now while I'm already back here. You just fit right in there very snugly. You can have them standing up like it would traditionally, or lean them back, which does make them a little bit back heavy, so I kind of lean them up a lot of the time. So there is that, all fine and dandy. So I just realized, I'm sorry, I didn't even realize. For the shoulder pads in the pictures, there are supposed to be two Rakshi heads here, one blue, one red. Currently, I needed to use those pieces for something else, and kind of forgot to put them back on. So I probably should take care of that now, shouldn't I? Oh no. All better now. Anyways, I got little shoulder bits. So, the shoulder pads. Interesting. I like them. A big misconception is that people think that he's actually not posable with those shoulder pads. Guess what? Boop. Well, I guess technically... Okay. I designed them to move out to go along with the arm, kind of like an SH Figure Arts figure would have. So these can move out and swivel in and out accordingly. But however, his head is in the way, so that's an oversight on my part. But yes, I'm gonna go up here to take a better look. Yeah, those certainly are shoulder pads that follow the same design as the skirt, which I think they look really cool. I think they add a nice, not necessarily samurai look, because if it were necessarily a samurai look, they would hang down the side of the arm as well, and decided not to. Just wanted to make basic type of looking shoulder pads. Upper arms are Metro bodies, because Metro bodies, I think, hands down, are the most versatile torso piece to use out of any Bionicle set. Out of the Toa, let's go with the Toa, because I guess you can say the Bullrock and the Vaki and the Rakshi have really good bodies as well in terms of using pre-made parts. But they make really good arms and really good legs at times, and so that's all fine and dandy. The lower arms, dragon heads aplenty. So another little bit of controversy with this guy is that the rubber bands here. I'm going to assure you right now, I'm not going to pluck these off just for the sake of simplicity. But he doesn't need these rubber bands there. He really doesn't. Frankly, oh no, that's a Skype message. The connection here is this little Hero Factory armor, which clips onto that little red ball joint holding this little leg armor piece in place. So that's the main connection. That's how it's all nice and stiff. Rubber bands are just there for insurance in case something gets loose. But they're the dragon heads, as I've used on every version of Dominion and Sovereign and Dominion and whatever. But I thought I wanted to keep them on the MOC, and certainly didn't want to make them legs. So I made them arms, and I think proportionally, it looks perfectly fine. It does have that weird effect. Of he has a lot shorter of an upper arm than a lower arm. Which, if you're trying to pose him, it looks a little weird, but for the most part, I think it looks perfectly okay. In terms of posability with the arms, they can move. Oh, there's that piece that fell off again. His arms are on a single ball joint. His shoulders are as well, which they can hold their pose as long as there's no weapon in the hand. So take that for what you will. Again, something I could stand just to, tighten that joint or add a different connection, but in time. Again, this is a character who I'm going to be working on in the future. It's just like the first version of him, which is still pretty fucking great. But yeah, it's on the ball joint, so you can move that. Oh, it's not even on the screen. Whoop. You can move that back and forth. Move it back a tiny bit because it's on a single ball joint. Intentionally, I did it first so I can have his arm go inward towards his body, because I think that's a crucial bit of articulation that a toy needs to have. Not only making a MOC, just any toy in general. And if I really wanted to, I can push this up and lock it into the upper arm, so it's a lot more of a stronger connection. So if he's holding a larger weapon, I would just need to pop that out, and there's that. Lastly, the hand, which isn't the most groundbreaking thing, has a butt ton of joints in it. Let me get a little bit of a focus in on that there, if it would allow me. Oh, come on, be a pal. Be a pal, you can do it. Yeah, that's kind of alright. But yeah, there's 3 joints in each finger, and the thumb is literally just this little dude here. They make really nice looking fists. I think that works. It's still a tiny hand. That's a running theme with everything on this self-MOC, is him having tiny hands or kind of tiny arms. But yeah, I think it works for the hand. It does make it difficult to hold certain weapons, like the flags, because if you could tell before, I just kind of nudgely pulled them out. They weren't really connected to anything. Again, things I need to work out in the future for when I make more weapons, or work on making this guy more stable and whatever. But yeah, that's the hand, simple ball-jointed wrist. That all works out. Last, but surely not least, boo, 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 the head. Which I think is super friggin' cool. Man, I like this head. Really like this head. Again, get into focus because it's so cool. Hold on. I got this. Yeah, that's the head. Nice little kind of flag pieces there making the mouthpiece. On complete accident, I had that little nose bit there when adding it to the visor. And man, it looks cool. I'm sorry. If you look at this closely, oh man, I can do this. It fits perfectly with that groove on the inside of that purple visor piece. Like, that just looks nice. Just looks super good. The white helmet piece that's on the top of his head, kind of giving him the bald spot look. That's rubber banded into there, but it does fit very nicely. And it makes a nice, again, unique look. And also on top of that, he's got little horn bits here on the side of his head. Not really horns, but like just little decorative pieces in which you can put inside like that. Or you could really just like put them out like that, or put them all the way out, which shoulder pads won't allow. But yeah, look at that. He's got big old antlers. So yeah, that's the head. And the head has two joints, one on the inside of the body and one on the actual inside of the head. That just pulls off there. But he can look up pretty well, side to side pretty good. He's got that kind of head jiggle going on. And yeah, I'm going to move this guy back because, hey man, we're done with the Sovereign review. What a long review, am I right? But yeah, I'm so... The more I look at this guy, I'm just like structurally, he has a lot of problems. The proportions aren't all that great. He has some really loose bits on him. But, like, overall, man, I am so fucking proud of this MOC. I think you can argue with me. I mean, that's how I feel right now, but this is the best MOC I've ever made. I love the way this looks. Like, never before have I looked at a MOC on a shelf. No one, not Shadow, not Shadow Gear, not anyone, have I ever looked on a shelf and looked at a guy and go, that guy looks awesome. That guy looks great. Like, I've never been so proud of looking at one of my own MOCs before. It's just like, this is just a centerpiece. Like, he sits on the top of my desk next to Dominion and Minion and friggin' just looks, for lack of a better term, baller as fuck. But yes, that's the review of Sovereign. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm sorry again that it was delayed. I had some issues going on in my life to which I really couldn't get this out in time. Again, it's a month late. Also, I'm starting my spring break more or less now, so I'm going to have some more time to get some videos out. So look forward to that. Anyway, guys, this is Shadow Gear 6235, and I'll see you folks another time. I really hope you enjoyed the review of this big mamma jamma. Fuck, I am friggin' corny as shit. Ugh.